All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to my channel. This is the Palangi Professor. You can also call me Colton. I want to get started today on lesson 2. Welcome again. Gogi motolo mo toya himai. Before we get started, I do want to go over a few things from the last lesson really quickly. So I know my camera was covering up this page last time. So the examples here were just he akao, the tree and cross, and ha ika, a fish or any fish. I believe those were covered up last time. And then a really quick correction. Okay, so on this page, okusio hatamasiya ika. We haven't gone over it yet, but it should say okusio e hatamasiya ika. There needs to be a focus marker for a transitive sentence before the ha. So I just wanted to correct that. Sorry about that mistake. And we'll go ahead and get started here on lesson number 2. So today we're going to be talking about pronouns and personal or person number categories. Our goals today would be to learn the full pronoun system, the inclusive versus exclusive we, and using subject pronouns correctly. All right, so looking at the pronoun chart here, we want to pause this or take a screenshot. Feel free to do so, but this is a pronoun chart that I've made with some examples. So pronouns in Tongan are pretty similar to English. There's a few differences, and then a few pronouns are actually grouped together in Tongan that are not grouped together in English. So we'll go through that. So we have on the left side of this chart the person, so first person, second person, third person, and then the number of people that we're talking about, and then whether it's inclusive or exclusive, and then pre-posed versus post-posed. And that just means if it's before the verb or after the verb. In most contexts, there's a few exceptions, but not really. And we'll discuss those in later episodes, lessons of this series. So let's go ahead and take a look first. For I, first person, singular, the pre-pose is going to be o or u, depending on which tense marker we use in the sentence, and we'll discuss that later. And then for me, which would be the post-pose version of it, that'd be ao. And so you can see oku okai means I eat. But if you wanted to say he eats with me, you would say oku nekai moao, or me meaning ao. And so we'll discuss this, but a lot of English verbs do have a before the verb, a preposed version, and an after the verb version. You is one that does not in English, but we'll get to that one next. So we see that for you, preposed is ke and postposed is koe. So our example here is oku ke alu koe, which is just meaning you go with you go, you're going, right? And you can in Tongan you can say this. So it's not something you would say in English. You wouldn't say like, are you going you? But in Tongan, it's okay to say that. It's just very emphatically explaining or asking, saying that you are the one going. And it's a reflective statement that they have in Tongan. And it just adds a little bit of emphasis to it, but it's correct grammatically. And so you can see, though, in this sentence, oku ke alu koe, that you can have ke before the verb of alu, which is to go, and after the verb as koi. It'll make a little bit more sense here when we talk about this verb ia, ne and ia. So those mean he, she, or it. And so when you're discussing something in the third person, so if it's a he, a she, or an it, then we would use ne before the verb and ia after the verb. And that's the same as we would say in English, right? So we're going to say he went to the store. We wouldn't say him went to the store. And then we would say she went to the store with him. We wouldn't say she went to the store with he, right? So it is the same before and after a verb, but in your mind, just think he or him or she or her. And that's the difference between ne and ia. And so you could see here the example, oku nekai ia, which is he eats him, basically is what that translates to. And again, it's a reflective sentence in Tongan, which adds extra emphasis, but I'm using it here to show that, it's okay to put either ne or ia. Ne goes before the verb, ia goes after the verb. You can use either one, or you can use both, and it's all perfectly fine. If you use both okunekai ia, it's a bit more emphasis that he's the one eating and maybe nobody else. But we'll go ahead and look now at the we for two people, dual, and it's exclusive. And so what exclusive means is that you're talking to somebody else, but you're not including them in that sentence. So let's say that, for example, when I was a missionary, I would always be with a companion in Tonga. So it'd be two of us and we'd be talking to other people. So they would ask us, oh, have you guys ate already? And I would say something like, Iyo maosi kai. So I would say like, yes, me and my companion have already ate. But if I had said, Iyo ta osikai, then I would be talking about me and the person talking to me and not my companion, which wouldn't make sense, right? And so before the verb is ma for two people, after the verb is kimawa. And so I could say something like, Iyo nama osikai mawa, which is basically, again, ma before kai, which is the verb to eat, and then kimawa after the verb, which again just adds emphasis that we have already ate. And so the example here is okumasio. So the two of us, not you, are looking, is basically what okumasio means. Sio is to see. And then we have inclusive. So again, like I said, ta is inclusive. That would be me and the person I'm talking to. So if you wanted to, I mean, this is very a common word. Let's say if you were in a relationship with somebody, you would be talking about just you and that person you're talking to, and then you'd want to do something. So you'd be something like okotakai, and it's like we are eating, right? And then you have kitawa, and you could say something like, oh, I could eh? So like, let's go. Let's get going, us two. And so it's including the person that you're talking to, and then the post version of it is kitawa. So if you were talking to the person that you're talking to, and you're like, and you wanted to say something like, so we are super happy, both of us. And I mean, again, something you might say to someone you're in a relationship with, or if yeah. So the post version of it, kitawa, is not super common. It's more likely you're going to use ta, but of course there'll be situations where you're going to say kitawa. But because of it's always going to be the person you're talking to, and so it's makes more sense to use the pre-post most of the time, but obviously you can use the post. Now let's look at second person you for two people, which is mo, right? And so mo is pre-posed and kimo is post-posed. This one is very common to see a reflective sentence. So if you say, and it means like you two, so okumoalu. So again, as a missionary, we would hear this a lot from people, right? Because it was two of us and we would be doing things. So people in Tonga would say, oh, mo'oskai. And oh, I'm sorry, there's a typo here sorry about that. On my example sentence, there's an extra U. There shouldn't be a U there. It's just okumo without a U. Okumokai, okumoalu. And so, and again, reflective, it would be very common to hear okumoskaya gimoa. So that's adding that subject focus marker we talked about in lesson 1, that okumoskaya gimoa. Have you guys already ate, you two? And so again, same thing with third for dual persons or two people, and the they meaning they two or them two is na, and then kinawa. So okunasio, those two are looking, or okunasio akinawa. So those two are looking. And then we have plural exclusive. And so we go from ma for two people to mao for three people. So something I wanted to point out, as you can see in the post-posed version of these, a lot of these pronouns We have kimaua, kimoa, kinawa, kimautolu, kitautolu, kimotolu, and kinautolu. And we haven't gone over numbers in Tongan. But that's really something you should try to learn on your own. It's just learning vocab, right? There's no grammar there. But we know we have our numbers. Taha, ua, tolu, fa, nima, ono, fitu, valu, hiva, hongo, fulu. So ua is 2 and tolu is 3. And so we can see that the postposed version literally is saying 2, kimaua, and then the postposed for the 3 or more plural is tolu. So it's easier to remember, to try to learn probably those postposed and learn that anything with ua at the end is 2, and anything with tolu at the end is 3. And in the same way, the preposed, the plurals will end with a u at the end, and then the dual will not have the u at the end. So ma, mao, da, tao, mo, mo, and na, now. So hopefully that helps you to remember them. But we can go and get back to where we were. So plural exclusive, mao and kimautolu. So this is we, plural, excluding the person you're talking to. The best example I have for this, which I think I've given in another video, is when we pray, we are praying to God the Father, and we are usually not including him in the things that we're praying for. So if we're going to be praying to bless us, bless the people, our family, or bless our congregation, or whoever we're praying with, we're not including asking God to bless himself in that. So we would say something like okumao kole. We ask something, right? You wouldn't want to use tao in a prayer because you're talking to God and not including him in the things that you're asking for or the things that you're grateful for, or whatever else is in that prayer. And so likewise, a great example for it is if someone is talking to you, and even the example here, they maybe ask, oh, what are you guys doing? You could say, okumaukai, we are eating. And the person that is talking to you is not eating, right? And so you wouldn't say that he or she is also eating with you guys. Now, after that in Tongan, it's very common to then invite them to come eat. That's obviously, if you've been to Tonga or know any Tongans, they're always going to invite everybody to come eat, which is why I need to lose some weight. But we'll keep going here. We have the opposite of that now is inclusive, or we in the first person. We have tau and kitau tolu. That's including you. Oku tau alu. All of us are going. And that's including the person you're talking to. And then we have plural for mo, which is you, plural. In English, it's just y'all, right? So, I mean, y'all is not a real word. I mean, people, you know what it means, though. And so in your brain, if you were going to say y'all, you would use the word mo. So, and kimotolu for after the verb. So, okumosio, you all are looking. It's a great word. It's used a lot, especially if you're talking to a group, if you're doing anything in a church setting where you're talking to the congregation, those kinds of things. And then we have now, which is they, plural. So they for preposed and them for postposed, right? So okunaukai, they are eating, and then okunaukai akinau tolu, they are eating them. Perfect. I think we got there. So yeah, if you have any questions about this, check out my email in the first video and you can send me an email. But hopefully it's making a bit of sense. It's kind of a lot of vocab, but as you practice writing sentences more and more, it'll just come. So we'll keep going. Let me get my thing to move here. All right, so let's talk about emphatic postposed pronouns. Postposed pronouns come after the verb or sometimes at the end of the clause. They are used for emphasis, contrast, focus, or clarification. Like saying I myself eat, or it's me who eats. So in normal sentences, Tongans would probably use a preposed form of the verb, but really it is fine either way. I do think putting the postposed version of a verb probably does add a bit more emphasis on the person that's doing the action, right? So this is the key rule. I think this is a little bit blown up out of proportion, but and in real life, people aren't going to care which one you use. But pre-pose before the verb is everyday and default, and then post-pose is emphatic or contrast after the verb. So obviously, we talked about the forms do change for pre-pose and post-pose. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some examples. Okukaiao, I eat. Probably you'd have to say okukaiao, but they would understand what you meant if you said okukaiao, but I think it's okukaiao because you need a focus marker there. Okualo koe ki Tonga, and then you go to Tonga. So instead of saying okuke alo ki Tonga, it's okualo koe, which is again explaining that's the one going. Okusio ia aifale, he or she sees the house, emphasis on that person. Okunofo akita tolo i Tonga. We live in Tonga, we ourselves, including you. Again, I think I would add the a in between the nofo and kita tolo. And okokai ki mautolo aika. Okokai ki mautolo aika. Again, I think I'd add the a subject marker for ki mautolo aika. Apologies, this was written pretty quickly, but when I'm going over it again, I think that it needs a subject marker. And then that is we eat the fish, us and not you, because we're using the ki mautolo. Some other examples, we have kohai okukai, and you would answer koao. Also, anytime someone calls your name in Tongan, it's very rude to answer with like what or yes. Yes is a little bit better, but what is really bad. Or maybe disrespectful is a better word. The correct answer is always to say koao, which is it's me. That's how Samuel the prophet answered when he was called by the Lord. He said koao eni. So, if someone calls your name in Tonga or a Tongan calls your name, instead of saying what or yeah, just say koaweni and it'll surprise them. So, all right, going back to the slide, I fixed a few things here. So, going to focus on a group discussion. So, okunau alo ki he lotu kako ki mautolo okumau nofo. So they, some people, or they, just they. Some people doesn't really matter. Go to church, but we, our group, are staying home. Looking at some storytelling emphasis. Na nausio ki ateao, kakoao, na akusio ki ate. They saw me, but it was me who saw them. So again, because me is after, basically in this version of this sentence, kakoao is a clause without a verb in it. So we're going to use a postposed pronoun. So na nausio ki ateao is one clause. So we have na'anao, which is past tense. We'll get to tenses later. Na'anao is they saw, sio, which is the verb. Kiateao, which is kiate means to, and it's a preposition. Kiateao is a prepositional phrase. They saw to me, but it was me is a clause by itself, and then who saw them is its own clause with its own verb and subject, right? So in Tongan, if there is a clause with no verb, we're going to use postposed and the subject or the focus marker of goal. So but me and yeah, I hope that makes sense. But if not, stay tuned. We'll have more lessons about it. And then some negation, basically just a negative sentence. Oku ikai ke alo ia, kako koe te ke alo. So ikai is not or no in Tongan. So it's saying it's not him or her, because ia is him, her, or it. But usually it wouldn't be going. I mean, I guess it could be an animal. But oku ikai ke alo ia, kako koe te ke alo. But you, it is you who will go, right? Kako koe te ke alo. So oku is a present tense marker, and then te ke alo is future tense marker. And again, we'll discuss that in a future lesson. Hopefully that makes sense. I know a lot of this is kind of ephemeral and it's kind of hard to put together, but we'll keep going in the lessons and hopefully get some better examples going forward. Let's go ahead and look at the next page here. All right, I'll go ahead and do some fill in the blanks here. Use prepose or postpose as needed. So obviously, if it's before the verb, we'd use prepose. If it's after the verb, we'd use postpose. So, oku blank guy, and we're talking about we and inclusive, so including everybody. Oku guy, you singular, so one person, and this is postpose, it's after the verb. Oku blank alu ki Tonga, he or she, and it's before the verb, so preposed. Oku sio a blank ai tamasi'i, we exclusive plural, so not including the person that we're talking to. And then ko hai oku alu, and then ko blank, and then this is me in a clause without a verb, so it's postposed. So go ahead and I'm going to give it 10 seconds. If you want to pause the video, go ahead and do that, and I'll pull up the answers here in a second. All right, let's go ahead and pull these answers up. All right, so we have oku tau kai, we're including the person. Oku kai koe, you singular. Oku ne alu ki Tonga, he or she. Oku sio aki mautolu ai tamasi'i, we exclusive plural. And then ko hai oku alu. Koao is the answer. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and translate to Tongan here. So we're going to mix some pre and postposed. We exclusive go to Tonga. It's you postposed who sees the fish. They plural eat, not us. Me, I don't go. And then we inclusive prepose will eat together. So obviously this is going to require some vocab. Most of these words are on previous slides. If you want to pause the video and go try to write this down, I recommend it. The only real way to learn is sadly, I know it's frustrating, but it's to do the work. So if you can go through and write some stuff down, try to translate these sentences, writing stuff down, getting it on paper is the best way for most people to retain knowledge. So go ahead and pause this video. I'm going to wait 5 seconds and then I'll reveal the answers. All right, let's go ahead and show the answers here. So, oku mau alo ki Tonga, oku sio koe aika, oku nau kai ka ikai ko ki tau tolu, ko ao oku ikai ke o alu. That one's a little bit hard. If you guys didn't translate the I don't go correctly, that's okay. We haven't really gone over negatives. And that in a negative sentence, you have to change the o to a u. So that's one of the examples where I becomes u instead of o. There's a few others, but we will discuss those again in a later lesson. And te taukai whakataha, we inclusive prepose will eat together. Perfect. Hopefully you guys did pretty well on that. I don't feel bad if you don't get it 100%. There's still some grammar that has to be taught before we get there. So, a wrap up and conclusion. Tongan has a rich pronoun system with singular, dual, and plural pronouns. We have inclusive versus exclusive. This we is very important in Tongan, so that sentences make sense. Obviously, as you're learning, people will understand if you use the wrong one, but it's one of the first things we should really focus on in our grammar because it is something that is important. Prepose pronouns and postpose pronouns. Postpose is usually for emphasis and goes after the verb. Position changes meaning slightly. We want to use postpose to highlight who is doing the action in some situations. Why this matters. Getting pronouns right makes your Tongan sound natural and polite. Mistakes in inclusive and exclusive can accidentally exclude someone you're talking to. Some homework if you guys want to do some. Try to memorize the pronoun chart. Write 10 original sentences using at least 4 preposed and 4 postposed pronouns and mixing in some inclusive and exclusive. We have some example starters. So you could say something like today, ahoni, yesterday, aneafi, or tomorrow, apongpongi. We will, and then what do you want to say? Go to the store, eat a fish, eat some food. Whatever you want to say, you can go ahead and do that. Record yourself saying 5 sentences aloud and listen for pronunciation. And then you can do a bonus if you want to make a short dialogue, 3 to 5 lines of 2 people talking back and forth to each other. And next lesson we have is tenses and aspects. So now you can say who with your pronouns. We're going to talk about when. So past, present, future, and perfect tense. Hopefully this helped you out. Obviously, I know it's a lot, but the video will be here, and hopefully as we keep going down the lessons, you'll be able to go back and more things will make sense in the previous lessons. I think that's it. I will go ahead and end the video. I want to thank you all for coming and watching. Please share it around. I'm sorry that if some of the things I say don't make perfect sense, or please forgive me if there's some slight mistakes in some of the things I'm writing down. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning every day myself, but I want to share what I do know with those other people that want to learn. So thank you for coming to the channel. Have a great rest of your day. See you later.